don't believe in what you see on Instagram.
On social media or like on social media?
Yeah, on social media. Because my partner hates me. Now I'm Spanish. In Spain, we like our time.
Yeah, exactly. Your favorite Hindi word?
Acha.
Acha. What about Europe or India? Where do doctors work harder? Hello and welcome everyone to the new episode of CosmopoliteSam. And today's episode is especially exciting because we are diving into the world of healthcare leadership, medical attention, medical education, and aesthetic medicine with a truly global voice. I'm honored to welcome Dr. Carlota Alonso, founder and CEO of the European Institute for Healthcare Excellence, which is also known as EIHE. And Dr. Carlota is an emergency medicine physician, a healthcare leader, a university lecturer, and an international speaker. She has worked across 4 continents: Europe, South America, Africa, and Asia. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right.
And bringing a truly global perspective to healthcare and medical education. She has also co-founded a youth healthcare project in refugee camps, focusing on access, dignity, and ethical care in some of the world's most vulnerable regions. So Dr. Carlota, welcome to our podcast, which is also known as CosmopoliteSam, and it's a pleasure to have you on our podcast. And you have lived in and worked across multiple continents: South America, Africa, and Asia. So my first question is a very natural one. What brought you to India?
So first of all, thank you very much, Sam, for having me here. It's such an honor to be sharing with you and with your audience a bit about my background, my trajectory, and yes, why I am here in India, which is why we met. And I would say I landed in India by chance. I was already looking into India for quite some time because I saw India as an emerging country. And I had the wonderful opportunity to work as an independent consultant for this Spanish company that I was looking into coming into India. And it was a very interesting project because it was at the intersection of emergency medical care.
And where was it?
Training and business development. And it was in Maharashtra.
Okay.
So that's how I landed in India. I was initially coming on a 5-day assignment, and because of some Indian delays, we now know this is something that happens. It ended up being 3.5 months.
And you were supposed to be here for 5 days?
Yes.
Oh wow.
But it gave me the chance to completely fall in love with the country and its people. And that is what made me finally relocate to India to work for this company and to better understand not India as an emerging country, but India as a global actor that is actually shaping how we understand healthcare, how we understand leadership, how we understand business worldwide at a scale.
Like, how did your international experience, including your work in refugee camps, shape the idea of starting, how did you come up with the idea to start European Institute for Healthcare Excellence in India?
So then, across all those different contexts, I realized that if we actually want healthcare to be developed and to be sustainable at a scale, we need to invest in training. Unless we provide really good training, there is no money coming into place, there is no tech coming into place that can actually solve the challenges that we as population need when designing systems that would address healthcare. And that is why I decided, okay, let me create this project where rather than bringing European projects and implementing elsewhere, which is why many European projects fail when they go abroad. Let me create bridges that will help us bridge the gap and bring the best practices, the best solutions from all of those different contexts.
And that's how it started, yeah.
And that's how EIHE started.
And for how long you stayed in Pune?
So I was in Pune for around almost 2 years.
Not bad.
And then I just very recently shifted to Delhi.
Yeah.
I moved to Delhi in August.
And let's talk about your personal journey. What inspired you to choose emergency medicine, one of the most intense and demanding medical fields? Like, you always knew it since you were a small kid?
No, I did not always know that, but I always knew I wanted to create impact. And again, I started in emergency sector by chance. I took a gap year after university because I wanted to focus on my project in the refugee camps. But then I could not be there during the summer months because it was really, really hot and we were living at refugee tents. So after some time, we had to go back to Spain, design the logistics of the project and everything. So I started working at the emergency sector because I could just do night shifts or day shifts some time or there. And it was not like a full-time job. I could just kind of like accommodate my shifts to the time I was actually in Spain and then be free whenever I was traveling to the refugee camps. And then again, I loved the emergency service because you actually create a great impact in the outcome of the health of the patient. Basically, you are saving lives or you are optimizing resources. You're not always saving lives in the emergency
That's very much visible
department.
also.
Yeah, so that is what I loved. I also loved that every day was absolutely different. You never know what's coming. You never know the type of patients that you are having. And then I think the bonding between the team members in the emergency department is great. Not only across doctors, but across nurses, technicians,
Staffs.
admin. You all have to work as a team. Otherwise, it will not work.
Sure. And you have worked across 4 continents: Europe, South America, Africa, and Asia. So could you share some of the countries or healthcare systems you have worked in and what each region taught you?
So I'd start with Europe. I was trained in Europe and I lived in Europe most of my life. And Europe teaches you compliances, safety first, protocols, SOPs. It's a very rigid system. So that also means that implementing changes is generally very slow. So there's pros and cons to it. Then South America taught me that when resources are not always available, I was coming from Spain, where we have a very good public health system and we have a very good and accessible private health system as well. You can get anything done within a reasonable time, at a reasonable cost, or even no cost at all for the patient. This doesn't happen in South America, especially in rural areas, where doctors have to have a very, very strong clinical training so that with those limited resources, they can still warranty patient safety. And then at the same time, there's a lot of creativity involved because you also have to say, what can I do to provide my patient with the solution if I don't have? I think it is a much deep and true medical system that what we have in Spain. In Spain, I faced sometimes you don't know what's happening and you just order an MRI and you will order lab tests and see, this is all in the heads and the reasoning systems of the doctors I met in South America. So in that sense, I would say many times they're a lot more skilled than in the Western countries because of the resources that they have that they don't have.
Because of the limited resources.
Yeah. And then in Africa, what I learned is even if there's a lot of players who are aiding, who are providing support, who are actually going there and providing healthcare as I went, unless there is a very strong system in place that is coordinating everything together, it will not be sustainable in the long term. Yeah. And it is also not profitable for the community in the sense of, okay, I'm giving you healthcare today, but I'm not giving you the means so that you can actually develop. Yeah. And this is how I started to develop a very strong interest in both education and training, and at the same time understanding business strategy. Mm-hmm. Because unless you could merge the three, healthcare, business, and education, it will not be scalable and sustainable in the long run. Okay. And what I found is there's many policymakers who don't understand the ground because they've not been.
Because they are like just in their rooms and like
exactly. They've not seen patients. They don't know how
they've studied all,
dynamics.
but in books or maybe in the universities. Exactly. They don't know like.
And healthcare for them is a completely different language. In the same way that for 90 or 95% of the healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, technicians, business strategy, tech, or system implementation is also very unknown. So there is this gap in between in between the two faces of like the two sides of the same coin. And I think this is what I saw as an opportunity in India, where I could contribute to policy making, to curriculum design, to
Sure.
and at the end of the day, by training, you're not only having an impact over the doctor's career or the nurse's career, but at the end of the day, in the long term, you are shaping systems.
Yeah.
So that is what I really liked, because of India's large scale potential, India's demographics, and India's growth, basically.
It's a huge market, and at the same time, there's a huge demand also.
Yes.
For that. Sure. And I'm especially curious about how did co-founding a youth health project and refugee camps influence the way you think about ethics, access to care, and medical responsibility today? Because again, like you come from the European medical background, so things were totally different there. And then you moved to Brazil or Africa.
I think for healthcare providers in general, ethics is always at the core of what we do. I mean, providing healthcare access is a basic need. And what I always try to take into account is, in today's world, all societies, no matter the continent, are being more and more influenced by financial factors. So I used to try to always manifest or share the idea that we as health providers can never forget what brought us here, which is that ethical background and ensuring always patient safety above everything else. I was talking to a friend the other day because he mentioned, oh, I went to this place and I saw like this procedure, and I thought this was the normal procedure to be done. And I said, well, actually, no, there's a lot of pressure in many clinical settings to perform this surgery or the other surgery. Yes, because the insurance would be paying a higher fee to the clinic or to the doctor. So there is that conditioning, there is that push to, and sometimes, of course, that pressure on a day-to-day basis modifies how doctors would perform the procedures that they would recommend to the patients, or even clinic policies.
It's interesting. And also, let's talk about the aesthetic medicine and the Indian market also. Aesthetic medicine is growing rapidly in India, especially in last few years, after also the emergence of social media and 5G and everything. It's on a very different level, both in demand and visibility. So according to even the research by Modern Intelligence, the Indian aesthetic device market is expected to grow from $0.74 billion in 2025 to $0.85 billion, and is forecast to reach $1.71 billion by 2031. So from your global perspective, how do you see the Indian aesthetic medicine market today and the potential of the aesthetic market in India?
I think the potential is immense in the future, but India is already a global leader in the aesthetic medical sector today, because of numbers, of course, because of the early adoption of new products, new treatments, and also because of the entrepreneurial mindset of the doctors. There's many doctors starting their own projects, their own clinics, their own settings. And I think this is great, because these can ensure fair access to these kind of treatments. But it, of course, also comes with challenges, which is standardization of procedures and warranting patient safety, and ensuring standards for training or accreditation for the professionals who are performing these techniques. And at the same time, we still face challenges with the products that are out there in the market.
What are the biggest challenges?
So I would say, product safety regulation. So whenever you are getting injectables, what are they actually injecting you? Where are these products coming from?
And the
Have they
outcomes.
been actually tested? And then the outcomes. Are the doctors trained in complication management? Are the doctors trained in side effects? Are they providing the treatments because you actually need them? Or because, aesthetic medicine has one particularity, whereas in emergency medicine or other fields, there is a clinical demand because of a healthcare need. Aesthetic medicine is elective. Patients don't need a lip filler or they don't need treatment
It's
for their
like the
wrinkles.
basic need.
It is a demand to enhance beauty or to enhance
Confidence,
self-perception.
yeah.
So then there is a lot of psychological factors that come into place as well. Why is the patient demanding this treatment? And would it be ethical and responsible to provide this treatment? And do I provide the treatment because I know if I'm injecting this amount of treatments today, then I'm making X amount of money? Or am I actually treating them because I am having a positive impact over their lives? So I think specifically in the aesthetic medical industry, doctors, professionals have to have those ethical values very much into account and don't just go with the trends and treat because of the trends, or be having that cash flow perspective in mind whenever they're running the clinic. If you build patient trust first and you put your patient needs at the center of everything that you do, even if that implies delaying the treatment, referring the patient to other professional, or even saying no to treating them at all, then the financials would come at the end of the day as well.
Indian cuisine or dish?
Pav Bhaji.
Pav Bhaji.
General in pharma industry, India is a leading country.
And emergency medicine or aesthetic medicine?
Emergency, saving lives.